Hey, and welcome back everybody to Streaming Your Way to Success. My name is Nick Black, and just as a quick recap, in the last episode we talked about you. I asked you to answer this question: what do you want from your stream, and why are you streaming? Well, today things are going to get a little less personal. We're going to dig into part one of a two-part series I'm calling Technical Difficulties. In this first section, I'm going to be covering the basics of having a great looking and sounding stream. I'm going to separate this into 3 levels of difficulty and price. Now, not everybody watching this can afford a 2-PC streaming setup, Ableton, a nice interface, and all the other things that you can have for streaming, and that's okay. For most, a simple setup is going to be the most desirable thing anyway. Something you can take with you to gigs and then bring back home and set up for when you stream Fortnite. Nobody streams Fortnite anymore. One of the most common questions I'm asked on my stream is what camera I'm using. And though that's an easy question to answer, it's definitely not the first thing you should be worrying about. As a matter of fact, it's not even the second thing you should be worrying about. For me, and for everyone that's going to be checking out your stream as a musician, the most important thing is audio. Having good audio is going to keep people in your stream longer than having a great camera will. And don't forget, for the best audio, use Cordial cables. What happened? So if audio is number 1, and I said that camera and lens were number 3, what's number 2? Well, number 2 is lighting. People hate when I start talking about lighting because it seems like such a complicated and nebulous concept to get your lighting right. But really what we're going to be talking about today is very straightforward. There's really only 2 basic rules of lighting that you need to follow in this situation. This first one seems so easy. Most people don't think about it though, so I always have to bring it up. Make sure the light is on your face. Don't sit with your back to a window that will silhouette the light around you and make you look dark, unless you want that look on purpose. You want to make sure people can see your face. Rule number 2 concerns how much lighting and how warm you want it to be. Not so much lighting that it blows your entire face out, especially if you're a ghost like me, but something that looks natural. If you're getting cheap bulbs from Home Depot, which is perfectly fine, make sure you get the ones that are marked soft white, not the ones that are marked daylight. The ones that are marked daylight have a bluish tint to them, and they will make you look like you're inside of a hospital. Now, once you have your face lit properly, as well as kind of everything that's going on in the foreground, you can get really creative with what you're doing. You can see that I have some pinkish, purplish environmental lights behind me. I've got a tiny bit of white lighting on that back wall to really separate it from the foreground. I want your eye to be drawn to here, but I also want you to know that there's something behind me. If it was completely dark back there, then I'm just in a vacuum. Now, if that's what you're going for, that's fine. Those aren't completely necessary, but they definitely do the work and they create ambience. Understanding all of that and where your priorities should be, let's separate this into 3 levels based on complexity and budget. Level 1, let's talk audio. Whether you're streaming on Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, just using your phone's onboard microphone is never a good option unless you have an absolutely stellar sounding room that you're recording in. Most of us don't, however, so you'll need a way to get direct signal from your microphone, your guitar, your keyboard, whatever instrument you're using, into your phone for the stream. And the best way to do that is with an iRig. The iRig allows you to go directly into your phone Lightning or USB jack to get a direct signal from whatever instruments you're using into your phone. Now, some of the iRigs have 2 inputs, so you could do a mic and an acoustic guitar. Some of them only have 1, and that's great if you just, have a better mic than your phone microphone in front of you. Like this one, I could play acoustic into it, I could play piano into it, and it would definitely sound better than an onboard phone microphone. Now, it's not the best sound quality, it's entirely direct, and you don't really get any effects or special plugins and sounds at all, but it's definitely better than just your normal phone microphone. For lighting, we're going straight to Home Depot to buy some of these mountable lighting cans, some soft white light bulbs. Remember, soft white, not daylight. You don't want to look like you're in a hospital. Then a chip clip, which is going to hold some wax paper over the front of it. You put wax paper over the front of this, turn it on, and voila, you have diffused lighting. For what, $15? For video, we'll be sticking with our phone camera, and for most of us, the back camera is going to be our best bet. It's got better quality than the front for 99% of phones. Please do not use a laptop camera. I have never ever seen a laptop camera with good picture quality. Get you a phone tripod for less than 20 bucks on Amazon and bam, you're good to go. So that's it for level 1. Hook up your iRig, set up your lighting, make sure you don't have a ton of backlighting behind you. Get you on your camera, do a test stream on your platform of choice, and you're good to go. Now, a little disclaimer before we move on to the next 2 levels. I'll be discussing the inner workings of OBS, other streaming softwares, and the fine bits of streaming like stream keys and DAW recording settings and graphics requirements on another episode of Streaming Your Way to Success. But if you've made it this far into the video and you're saying to yourself, Nick, that's exactly what I want, then come over to Twitch and hang out with me at twitch.tv/nickblackmusic. Mention Pathways, mention that you saw me here, and I'll be happy to make all of your dreams and your wishes come true. As long as those dreams and wishes are about OBS or streaming or music. All right, on to level 2. We're taking it up. Things are getting more complicated now. For this level, we're going to be using a small audio interface directly connected to a laptop. And there's a ton that fit this description. Anything with a USB out to a computer will work. M-Audio, PreSonus, Focusrite, etc. There's so many options. Buy what you need based on the number of inputs that you have. If you have 4 instruments, buy something that's got 4 inputs. If it's just you and a guitar, maybe you buy something that's a little bit smaller. You're going to be going straight into your computer at this level, and this is where we start using Open Broadcaster software, otherwise known as OBS. I'm sure you've heard lots of people talk about OBS over the last year as far as their streams are concerned, and I wanted to show you just a little bit of that today. So let's check it out. Right here we have our scenes. Right here we have our sources. This is an audio mixer, and we'll be dealing with this side of things in another episode. But right now what I want to show you is this scene. You can create a new scene by hitting the plus button, but we already have a scene right here. We're going to go over here into our sources, and this is how you bring in your audio into OBS. You'll go to Audio Input Capture. You'll create a new device, and you'll say Focusrite, whatever brand of audio input you are using. From here, you'll be able to see all your audio input devices. I'm using an Antelope Zen Tour, but you should be able to see your audio device, and you should be able to mix within your audio device, and it will go right into OBS. So I'm going to hit Zen Tour here, and you'll see this pop up right here. So audio meters will jump up and down, and that will go directly into your stream. Now, that's a very simple way of setting it up. For lighting, we're going to go with a ring light. Now, the prices of these have dropped since the beginning of quarantine because more people are producing them because everybody needed them for their meetings and for their streaming. They actually sell ring lights that are a tripod, so you just put your phone into the middle of the light and there's a tripod attached to it. And you can get those from somewhere between $40 and $100. There's options that are past that, but I really don't think you need them. Super simple to set up either way. Now, for the camera. Most of you might be thinking that I'm going to say we're going to use a webcam. Alas, we are not going to be using a webcam. We are going to be using the webcam that's in our pocket. It's been in our pocket this whole time. This phone. This back camera here has more dynamic range than almost any webcam on the market. So if you go and you spend $250 on a webcam, you just wasted $250 in my humble opinion. This phone can be hooked directly into OBS and used as a source. Download the OBS camera app for iPhone or Android, and you'll be able to add it as a source in OBS, just like we did with our recording interface. On to level 3. For this top level, there's definitely a steep learning curve if you've never used any recording software before. But if you can manage it or you already know how to use it, the jump in audio quality is absolutely astounding. Now you can use plugins, have multiple outputs, so you can be listening to a click while your audience can't hear it, which is the only way to listen to a click was when your audience can't hear it. The options are musically limitless. For lighting, we're going to go with some LED Lume Cube panel minis, but anything will work that diffuses its own light. These give you the option to choose what color light you want, which is super helpful depending on what skin tone you have. Now, for the camera, we're going to be going to the beginning of the top level of cameras. There's no need to go nuts here, but we are going to be going with a DSLR camera. This is a Sony a6000 with a manual Rokinon lens on it. But the reason that I choose the Sonys, and I usually don't have this manual lens on it, is because of the autofocus. You'll see that right here. See? Works just fine. Sony's autofocus is super fast, so these mid-range cameras, which can cost somewhere between $500 and $600 for the body, and $500 and $600 for the lens. Again, I said it's not cheap, but this is the top level. This is what most professional streamers are using. These mid-range Sony cameras have a clean HDMI output, which goes directly to whatever you're using to encode your video for the stream. This is something that other brands like Nikon and Canon have only just implemented into their cameras. Sony's been doing it for a long time. As far as lenses are concerned, things get very complicated very quickly. What I use is a 16mm Sigma lens with a 1.4 f-stop. I know that sounds like a lot of craziness, but do a little bit of research about camera lenses and you will learn some really, really cool stuff. For example, the closer I get with this lens, the longer and wider my face looks, right? But the further back I get, it exponentially gets skinnier. That allows me to get my entire room, and that's a 16mm lens. If I used a larger millimeter lens, the focus area would be smaller and smaller. You'd probably just see my face if we used a 50mm lens. That's all the detail I'm really going to go into right now. It's very complicated and I'm still learning about it, but just for those of you that are wondering, I use a 16mm Sigma 1.4 lens. It's a crop sensor. Now the downside, or the upside depending on how much control you want over your stream, of having a camera like this. You need something that's going to capture the camera and process it into something that OBS can actually use. You can't just take this camera and hook it directly into your computer. That wastes too much of your computer's resources. That is where a capture card comes in, and I use the Blackmagic ATEM Mini. This is a capture card that allows me to switch between up to 4 different cameras. It's how I route my audio. It's basically the central hub of everything that I do. But if you only have one camera, there's some very inexpensive, decent capture cards on Amazon, some that are just about $50. Now there are plugins for OBS and for computers in general that allow you to plug your camera directly into the computer. That's tough though, because it puts some unnecessary strain on your graphics card, especially if you're already using that same computer to encode your stream. Doing both of those at the same time is really hard for most computers. The less load you can put on your computer that's doing the streaming, the better. And on that same note, now you're not only using OBS to run your stream, you're now using recording software to run your audio. This is something that most computers are going to have a lot of trouble with, especially laptops. If yours can, that's great. It takes a lot of GPU and CPU power to make all of this work, and most, including myself, use a 2-PC setup. This means that I have one computer to do all my audio production on, and I have another computer entirely to encode my stream. As I said in the beginning, I know that this is something not everyone can afford, and it's not even something that everyone needs to do. Find the level that's right for your budget and for what you want out of your stream. Lots of information, and I hope you got something out of it. I'll go into more detail about stream settings and DAW setups on a later episode, but until then, remember that all the pieces in these different levels are interchangeable. I have a 2-PC setup, and I still use Home Depot lights as a part of my rig. Get what you need, but always keep in mind that this is about the music, not the gear you have. Some folks don't need anything but a phone and a guitar, and I am not one of those people. Find what's best for you and run with it. If you'd like to know more about streaming, come hang with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/nickblackmusic. I'll be happy to share any knowledge with you that I can until the next video comes out. Until then, keep growing, keep sharing, and never ever stop creating. I'll see you in the next video.